So for the first question, we found that 50% of students we polled felt that they do not have a balance of their own life and the demands of school. Right. So what does the school think about this?
Well, of course, we want all the students to have like a balance, really, and we work quite hard through a variety of ways to try and get that balance. So we have the big co-curricular programme, all the sport, the music, the drama, and all those things. But of course, the exams eventually sort of dictate that some work has to be done as well. So I guess it's always going to be a bit of a juggling act, just as it is for me in my job. I like to have some weekend time to myself, but I have to balance it with my job. And I guess that's what life is like. But I think probably most students would recognise that we put a lot of time in for things like sport and music and drama, and therefore that we try to do our bit. And then obviously there is some homework, but we do try to make sure that that's limited to what we say each time. And if it's not, then you probably need to talk to your tutors or your teachers about why they're setting too much, if some of them are setting too much.
Okay, thank you. So from the students we polled, we found the majority of students believe they get too much homework.
Right.
So people, as you said, the tutors and everything, yeah. But some people think that some people don't listen, and one of the things that was brought up was that the teachers don't stick to the timetables.
Yeah.
So
so that's obviously concerning. So I think there's various stages that students would need to go through there. So obviously talking to the tutor would be the first stage. But if that isn't working and there's a problem continues, then I think then they would need to go and see Mr. Spedding, because Mr. Spedding, as Deputy Head Academic, is in charge of that side of school life. And if there's really sort of proper genuine evidence that somebody is setting it always on the wrong day, or somebody is setting too much, then if we've got the evidence that we can act upon, then we would obviously speak to the teachers, because teachers are given guidelines for homework. But on the other hand, obviously we need to make sure that it's evidence that's there. So I would suggest in that situation that people go and talk to Mr. Spedding, I think.
Okay, thank you. So 60% of the students believe that compulsory clubs aren't necessary, taking into account all the sport and drama that we do. So What are the school's thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's an interesting discussion that as to whether we force people to take an activity. I think you're referring to the things like CCF and things like that. Yes. Yeah, and that, I think it's an interesting discussion as to whether forcing people is. I think the important thing is that everyone has a balance. Mm-hmm. Whether it's necessary always for that to be that we're forcing that balance. The problem is though that not everybody does the balance, and if we take away the compulsion, some people would do nothing. So that's the argument. On one side, we want everyone to have a balance, and for those of you that are doing a lot of balanced activities, then that works quite well. But if you're somebody that is only doing the compulsory one, and then when you stop it doesn't happen, then that's why at the moment. But that is under review. That will always be kept under review.
Awesome. Okay, so we received a range of answers when we asked what school demand takes up the most time, and the factors that most occurred were homework and school sport, which is probably the ones you get the most. Yeah. And so students then feel they don't get enough time on the weekend to themselves. Right. And so what are the thoughts surrounding this? Yeah,
well, I think school sport does take up some time, but it's only really half of one of the weekend days. Mm-hmm. And the homework at the weekend is probably not meant to be more than a couple of hours at most. So if you add those two together, that's not even all of one day, and then you've got the whole of another day still there. So again, it's that balance, because for a lot of people their school sport is one of their highlights of their week. But for everybody it is just about trying to put together your time in such a way as that you can get your schoolwork done, but that also you can have some downtime, which is really important, and time to do some other activities. So again, it comes down to balance. I know that's not really giving you the answer that you want, but on the other hand, for a lot of people, if we said, okay, well, no school sport, then they would be really just upset, because they enjoy that, they do enjoy that with their friends and so on and so forth. And obviously, if we said no homework, then none of you would get the results and get to the universities that you want. So it is a constant. But I think the school sport often is, more often than not, is Saturday morning. Yes. So by lunchtime you finish, then you've got a day and a half to fit your work in around that. There's always Friday night where you could do some work, and then you get a whole day and a half if you did your work on a Friday night. So there's ways of of doing it. And then some of our most successful students, by the time they get to the sixth form, are able to manage that time. And one of the things that we've got to teach all of you is how to manage your time. So.